Welcome to Old Man Sports Talk. I'm your host, Old Man Nate, and today we're going to continue the series of our college football previews with the 2023 college football preview of the Big Ten Conference. So thank you again for taking your time to watch this series as we break down each conference, and we're in the Power Five conferences, and the Big Ten Conference. I got to tell you, it's been a very tough conference well, particularly the last 5 years has been really tough. And the only thing about the Big Ten Conference I don't like is the divisions. And the reason I say that is you've got one side, the East side, that really has had the better teams for quite a while, and the West side gets a team in the championship game, and it, they're not even the second best team in the league. Okay, so um, it's not really fair, in my opinion, and I'm hoping that when USC and UCLA go to the Big Ten in 2024, that there will be no more divisions. That's my hopes, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. Um, they haven't released anything yet, as far as I know, on how it's going to be ran, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to start off by previewing the East, which is the better of the two divisions, and you'll see why when we get into this. Okay, we're going to start off with Michigan. Michigan made it to the college football playoff last year and was upset by TCU in the semifinals. And really, um, if it's not for some unfortunate plays, Michigan probably wins that game. They had two interceptions returned for touchdowns. The TCU ran back for touchdowns. They had a touchdown called back, said the player was down on the half-yard line on a long play that Michigan made. And in the very next play, they fumble the ball and TCU recovers it. So that's 21 points that, you take the 14 away from TCU, you add the 7 to Michigan, and that's a 21-point swing. And who knows what happens if they make it in the national championship game. But are they going to be back this year? Well, they got 8 offensive players and 7 defensive players returning, including their quarterback, running back, and 2 wide receivers. I think they will be really good offensively. However, defensively, they're going to take a slight drop. I'm not saying they're not going to be good, because they're going to be good, but they're going to take a slight drop. And so I've got them going 10-2 in the regular season, 7-2 in the conference play. Ohio State, another team that made it into the college football playoff last year by having, because they lost to Michigan. They didn't play in the Big Ten championship. They lost to Michigan, and then they had to have a team lose, which did happen, and Ohio State managed to squeak into the playoff. And honestly, really, they just gave the game away. They got too conservative. They had Georgia beat. And when you see what Georgia did at TCU, you got to sit there, and if you're Ohio State, you're sitting there thinking, man, we could have been national champions. Now, that doesn't mean they do the same thing to TCU, but they could have. And so Ohio State really has to be kicking themselves in the butt. They're probably really focused and training hard this offseason. However, they only have 7 offensive players and 7 defensive players returning, which is it's not bad. But they're returning their running back and 3 wide receivers. Their quarterback, if you've seen in my previous videos, it is hard for me to tell you to predict a team to win any conference championship or a national championship without a returning quarterback. Has it ever happened? Yes, it has. But it's not something that I'm just going to come out and do. So I've got Ohio State also going 10-2 in the regular season and 7-2 in conference play. Now, I do have Michigan beating Ohio State for the third straight year in that game. So, if y'all are wondering who I got winning that game, I got Michigan over Ohio State. Next team we're going to talk about is Penn State, and Penn State is not being talked about enough. First of all, Penn State last year only lost 2 games. And you know who those 2 games were to? Ohio State and Michigan. So, I think they're going to be ready this year. I really do. They've got 8 offensive players returning, 8 defensive players returning. That's more than Michigan and Ohio State on both sides. Michigan had 8 offensive, only 7 defensive, and Ohio State has 7 offensive and 7 defensive. But Penn State has 8 on both sides of the ball. They do have their quarterback, running back, 3 wide receivers, and their tight end returning. Now, I will say, their quarterback last year against Michigan, he could not. I mean, they jumped out to a lead, but I think it may have been their backup quarterback came in. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the second half, their quarterback couldn't do anything. So if that happens again this year, then Michigan will win that game. But right now, I've actually got Penn State winning against Michigan and Ohio State and going 12-0 in the regular season, 9-0 in conference. And they play either Michigan or Ohio State one. They got at home. That's why I got them winning that game. And I think I got Michigan at home, and they've got Ohio State on the road. But Ohio State without the quarterback, I just can't see them winning. So I'm going Penn State 12-0, 9-0 in conference. Maryland. People are higher on Maryland this year, and it's because they got Tagalua. I can't say his name. Tua's little brother. They've got him returning for his senior year, and he's a good quarterback. They've got him. A lot of people got him rated tied with Michigan's quarterback as the best quarterbacks in the conference. I don't know if I'll go there, but he is pretty good. They've only got 5 offensive and 6 defensive players returning. Like I said, they got their quarterback returning, the running back, a wide receiver, and their tight end. But I just don't. I mean, again, that's a tough. You got to play everybody on that side. They got to play Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. That's 3 losses. All right, 3 losses. And I've got them 7-5 overall, 4-5 in conference. Michigan State returning 6 offensive, 7 defensive players, but again, no quarterback returning. They're returning a running back and 1 wide receiver. I'm just not. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were a few years ago. I got them going 4-8 and 2-7 in conference. Rutgers, 6 offensive, 8 defensive players. They do have a returning quarterback, a running back, 1 wide receiver, and a tight end. But tough schedule. I got them going 4-8 and 2-7 in conference. And then Indiana, 5 offensive players returning, only 3 defensive players returning. They got a running back, 2 wide receivers. Again, no quarterback. They'll be able to get 6 wins this season because of their non-conference, but 4-5 in conference. So in the East, I've got Michigan State finishing 7th place, Rutgers finishing 6th, Indiana finishing 5th, Maryland finishing 4th. Now our top 3. like I said earlier, Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State all will be fighting for that spot to play for a conference championship. One of the other ones may fight for a playoff as well. But I got Michigan, the defending Big Ten champs, finishing third this year in the East. Ohio State finishing second, and Penn State first. It it actually may be Michigan, because I did say Michigan beat Ohio State, the same conference records. I think actually, yeah, Michigan. I'm sorry, Michigan will be finishing. Ohio State finished third. Michigan will finish second, and Penn State will win the East this year. Now let's move on to the West. Wisconsin with a new coach. They got Coach Fickle from Cincinnati. We'll see what he can do with the Badgers this year in his first year. A lot of people are high on Wisconsin. They had a couple of transfers at quarterback transfer in. Tanner Mordecai from SMU put up great numbers for the SMU. He's going to come to Wisconsin and try to put up similar numbers there. I've got West. Now they got 10 offensive players and 8 defensive players returning. One running back and one wide receiver. Now I've said before that a returning quarterback don't have high praises for you. The only reason I'm giving Wisconsin a little bit of benefit of the doubt on that is because, again, Tanner Mordecai transferring in. That's the only reason. If it had been, like for instance, they had Nick Ewers transfer in too. If Nick Ewers is the quarterback, then they won't win games. All right. So, by the way, Nick Ewers and Tanner Mordecai at one time in their college careers played at Oklahoma, played at OU. Tanner Mordecai was there first, then transferred to SMU. Ewers was just at Oklahoma, only saw the field against Texas, I believe, and then transferred this year. So, but I got Wisconsin finishing 10-2, and then 7-2 in conference. Iowa is returning 9 offensive and 7 defensive players, including the running back, wide receiver, and tight end. No quarterback, so you already know what I'm going to say. I got Iowa going 8-4 and 6-3 in conference. Illinois, a lot of people are high on Illinois. I don't know why. I just don't see it. They're returning only 6 offensive and 6 defensive players. They are not returning a quarterback, but they are running back, 3 wide receivers, and tight end. So if the quarterback is able to adjust really quickly and figure out the system, and maybe he already knows it, I don't know enough about him, but they've got the offensive weapons to support him. But I just don't think they'll be enough. I got them going 4-8 and 2-7 in conference. Minnesota returning 7 offensive and 6 defensive players. They are returning their quarterback, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. But I think they'll be a little bit down this year, and I got them going 7-5, 5-4 in conference. Nebraska with a new coach coming in. They were returning 7 offensive and 8 defensive players. No quarterback returning this year, though, and they are returning a running back and wide receiver. I think with their new coach will help them get more wins and actually make a bowl game this year. But I got them going 7-5 and 5-4 in conference. Northwestern is only returning 4 offensive players on the offensive side of the ball. They are returning 8 defensive players, and their defense was pretty good last year and will probably be pretty good again this year. With only a running back and wide receiver returning, I got them going 4-8 and then 3-6 in conference. And the last team we're going to cover in the Big Ten is Purdue, who's returning 6 offensive and 6 defensive players, no quarterback, a running back, and wide receiver. I got them finishing 5-7 in the conference and 3 and 6 in, I'm sorry, 5-7 regular, 3-6 in conference. So I've got Illinois finishing last in the West, then Purdue at fifth place, Northwestern. Fourth is Nebraska. Third, Minnesota. Two, Iowa. And I got Wisconsin winning the West and heading to the Big Ten championship. So that is Penn State representing the East, Wisconsin representing the West, and the Big Ten champion. I've got Wisconsin going to upset Penn State. Like I said, Penn State's going to finish undefeated, but they're going to be upset by Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. Wisconsin will be the Big Ten champion, but Penn State will get, well, I'm not going to reveal that yet, but we'll have a shot at making the college football playoff. All right. Hey, if you haven't already, please take the time to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. That way you get notified every time Old Man Nate is dropping a video or is going live. And also at this time, go to oldmancoffee.shop and get you some coffee, get you a tumbler to drink your coffee in, and get you a t-shirt and support Old Man Nate. I appreciate you guys for watching the videos. Leave some comments. Leave some reviews, what you think about the show, what you think about the videos. And until then, we'll see you next time.